From a renowned football superstar to an inmate with hardened criminals in a Paraguayan prison, Ronaldinho is a definition of a shining star in the mud, rising from the ashes to stardom and then back to the low valleys. What really happened? Born on 21st of March 1980 into a humble family in Porto Alegre, Ronaldinho did not grow up with a silver spoon. His family was one of the poorest in the state capital of Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil. They barely got anything done comfortably. Ronaldinho's father was a shipyard worker who played football for a low-reputation local club, and his mother was a salesperson whose earnings were not enough to support her husband. The father could not afford to send Ronaldinho and his brother Roberto to school, so he could only encourage them to become great at what he so desired but could not achieve: football. He was their greatest fan who supported them to become superstars, but could not even afford to buy them soccer boots. When Ronaldinho and Roberto got home from training, they would whine to their father about how they were the only kids without soccer boots at training. And their father, in his words, would always say, "My boys, if you want to become professional and superstars, you have to learn to play with your bare feet. That's how you get better than the other kids." What a smart lie. Or maybe he was right because, at 16, Roberto became the rising football champ in the community, thanks to his father's relentless training. All the hard work paid off as Grêmio signed Roberto, a contract that would afford them now living in a better house with a pool in a more serene environment. But sadly, the better life that seemed to have just started never lasted for long, as Ronaldinho's family soon faced another storm. His father, their best support, suffered a heart attack, fell into the pool and drowned. This occurrence ushered in a new phase, a challenging one at that, as Roberto had to become the breadwinner, and Ronaldinho, who was only 8 at the time, had to train harder to bag a contract early and support the family too. Roberto was doing fine at Grêmio, winning titles for them, but after his father's death, another major blow hit him, and it was as if fate was against their family. He suffered a severe knee injury that became a continuous issue for him, sparking an early and sad end to his career. Ronaldinho became the only hope of the family, and if he failed, the family would be doomed. However, as the saying goes, there's light at the end of the tunnel. After a few years of rigorous training, an event that brought him to the limelight happened. In 1998, his team won against another local team with a margin of 23-0. That's big. Do you know what's bigger? All 23 goals were scored by Ronaldinho. That's super crazy. After that match, Grêmio immediately went for Ronaldinho's signature. No one wanted to miss out on such an incredible talent. Roberto became his brother's manager. Ronaldinho went on to perform excellently at Grêmio, and to crown it, he won the Confederation Cup with Brazil. Many clubs lined up to sign this young superstar, and Ronaldinho also knew it was time to forge ahead and leave Brazil for Europe. He decided it would be PSG, and boom! A $5 million contract was signed in 2001. Ronaldinho soon took a spot in the first team and was doing well and earning big at the biggest club in League One. The fame and wealth must have been overwhelming. He switched priorities from the training ground to nightclubbing and social hangouts. Ronaldinho would only go for training on Fridays and games on Saturdays, although his performance on the pitch was not declining in any way. The new owners of the club began to have issues with the Brazilian guy. They could no longer take his attitude towards his work and decided to put him up for sale in 2003. As expected, many admirers filled PSG's doorstep. Ronaldinho decided to go with Barcelona and soon packed his bags for Spain. His skills and influence grew more at Barcelona, and he was decorated with a FIFA Player of the Year award, 2 Ballon d'Ors, and the Champions League. That's not all. The first YouTube video to hit more than 1 million views was Nike's commercial video that featured Ronaldinho. He was swimming in stardom, and soon the old habits caught up with him again. Old habits never die. Ronaldinho started frequenting parties more than the training ground at Barcelona, just like he did at PSG. This was around when Lionel Messi was just emerging. Although Ronaldinho was guiding Messi and helping him settle down at Barcelona, the board deemed Ronaldinho's attitude a plague and did not want Messi to be infected with such an attitude. They decided to get rid of the plague. Ronaldinho was soon shipped off to Italy, where he joined AC Milan. Not long after, he repeated the same thing that chased him out of PSG and Barcelona. I guess partying was not just his hobby, but an addiction. AC Milan also got tired of Ronaldinho's incessant truancy and unrepentant partying, and he was off again. This time around, Ronaldinho's career in Europe ended, so he decided to go back to his source, Brazilian football. The latter part of Ronaldinho's career saw him switch from one Brazilian club to another, retaining his unrepenting habit of partying. This time, he even added watching YouTube videos, and his favorite was this very channel. He subscribed to this channel at once and turned on the notification button. You should do the same. As Ronaldinho increased in age, he was declining in skills and abilities. Same with his earnings. The Brazilian teams could not afford to pay what he was getting in Europe, which made Ronaldinho begin to evade bills and taxes. He even tried his hands at cryptocurrency, but he wasn't as skillful at it as he was at football. For him, trading Bitcoin was harder than playing football. He got into shady deals and illegal activities, making the authorities come after him. Ronaldinho was charged to court, and after many investigations, the court found out that the bulk of the money in his account was in debt. Who would have guessed that Ronaldinho had over $1 million in debt and only had a meager $6 to his name? That's the most shocking news of the century. There was no way to pay up what he owed. The court wanted to ensure he did not elope, so they confiscated his passport and his brother's. Some months later, the Paraguayan government arrested Ronaldinho and his brother for allegedly attempting to enter the country with fake passports. They were caught in the act and sentenced to a 5-year jail term. What a sad event, but life goes on, right? Ronaldinho continued to shine as a superstar football imprisoner. He became popular among the inmates for his beautiful soccer skills. His birthday was approaching, and it didn't seem right for him to celebrate it in prison. He pleaded to have his 40th birthday outside the prison, and his plea was granted, at the expense of $1.6 million bail anyway. Nobody knew where he got the money from, but he got it, and that's all that mattered. Luckily, instead of the court's rule of 5 years in jail, Ronaldinho spent just 32 days and got permission to return to Brazil. The horrible experience at the prison played a good part in Ronaldinho's life anyway. He quit partying and got a hold of his life again. He never wanted to remain a fool at 40. He became an ambassador for the Vasco da Gama, a football club in Brazil. He signed as the ambassador of a few other brands, including Olymp Trade, LBLV, and Graph Blockchain. His wealth started rising again, and by March 2022, a picture of him in a Rolls-Royce went viral on the internet, an indicator that the good old days were back. One afternoon, Ronaldinho reflected on his story and found it very intriguing and worthy of sharing with the world. He decided to produce it as a movie. Here's the content of the trailer. A difficult period of my life is about to end. Fortunately, I can never thank enough those who supported me. If you ask me, I'd say his story was truly worth documenting. It could have ended as a total tragedy, but Ronaldinho salvaged what remained of his life after he got out of prison and made good sense of it. Good for him. Ronaldinho couldn't do without partying at some point in his life, and he's not alone. This other guy has a few things he can't trade for anything. Click this video to learn 10 things Lionel Messi cannot do without.